Back to the live stream of Nasdaq futures. Once again, we're back for a 30-second scalping, and want to remind everyone this is a one-to-one scalp, so we're looking for a 5-point stop loss for a 5-point take profit. I'll be pointing out setups as they occur. I may not take every setup, but as they occur and they align with the strategy, I'll make sure that everyone here knows exactly what we're looking for and how the strategy actually works. So just bear with me for a moment. We did have news this morning at 8:30. Core PPI was released. It's below expectations. So we'll see what that does for price. Looking at the 8:30 candle, didn't seem like a lot happened based on that news. But the 9:30 did have a strong reaction, which is typical of the opening bell. But I think because the 8:30 was so lethargic, I think 9:30 was a bit more energetic for that reason. But all the progress that we see that happened during the open bell, it did retrace and now it's trading at the same level as 9:30. So the fact that we weren't trading the last half hour, it appears we didn't miss anything. As we progress throughout the day, I'm going to try to not hold a bias. I'm going to try to just pay attention to price action, look and see what the candles are telling me, and choose a direction from there. We do need to be aware that this afternoon, federal funds rates, so interest rates, will be announced, whether the Fed is going to increase the interest rates, leave them the same, or reduce them. I don't think anyone is banking on or betting that they'll reduce interest rates, but we're just waiting to see whether they increase or whether we stay the same. Right now, the forecast is that they'll stay the same, so we'll see what happens when the news is released and then what that does to the market. But that's later on this afternoon. That's at 2 p.m. So it's a long time between now and then. And we'll see if price wants to cooperate with us this morning and whether it wants to present a trending market and give us the type of price action we're looking for, or if it's just going to give us a lot of consolidation as it waits for the 2 p.m. release of the federal interest rates, and then all the fun happens there. Um, One thing we'll have to worry about this afternoon is that once the interest rates are released at 2 o'clock, there's then a follow-up press conference, FOMC press conference at 2:30. And so that's probably going to bleed into 3 o'clock. So the afternoon segment is going to be, I guess, a little abbreviated, most likely. But let's see what the morning has for us. Let's just take a look at price and yeah, let's go from there. But let's not be too eager to just jump into something right now. But let's dip our toe in the water and see how it feels. Hey, buddy, you want to trade today? Okay. Okay. All right. Sorry about that. Thought my dog wanted to join the session today. Apparently he wants to play. So told him we'll have to do that later. We'll say my at first glance at the market, I am favoring longs. Just taking a peek at where we've been since basically the close of yesterday. We essentially made a new high of the year, and it's pretty much consolidated since then. The Asia session didn't deliver anything. It's been in the same range of 16,600 to 16,615, pretty much bouncing around all the way until this morning at the 8:30. But once the PPI was announced, it moved up a little bit. It retraced all the way back down. 9:30 it came around. It made a larger impulse move, retraced all the way back to its origin, and that's pretty much where we started at 10 o'clock, so 10 minutes ago. And now it's made a little bit of a movement up with a handful of bullish candles. Um, so I'm initially bullish. I'm not going to be married to it, so I'm going to continue to monitor price and just make sure that this isn't a fake out. Keeping in mind there's a bearish fair value gap on the 5 minute that price is entering now. Also here on the 32nd, on the move down between 9:30 and 10, there's also another one. I'll mark that up here. And so these could all be reasons for price to, after initial move upwards, to then turn bearish and turn around on us. We still haven't had our setup completed yet, so there's no trade to speak of. But I'm just looking for a market bias at the moment. Just having a short-term view as to what I expect for the next 20, 30 minutes. Oh, morning, Chris. How's it going? Good to have you back. Oh, morning, Joe. Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen a username with just digits. But good to have you, Joe. Welcome back. Okay, let's see if price continues bullish and makes a new high. Dennis, good morning. Welcome. Yeah, you're absolutely right, Dennis. I was briefly talking about that earlier. FOMC, absolutely. You want to be careful. I want to just watch price for a little bit just to make sure it's moving in the direction that we need it to, and that price action is um, not making complete retracements every time it makes a new extreme. So, so yeah, I'll be careful definitely. Um, and especially anyone who hasn't back tested this strategy, you for sure want to be in demo, not using real live funds. And yeah, let's continue to learn. But let's be careful. Today is a day that you don't want to lose your funding today, or lose a lot of money. And then when trading is better, either at 3 o'clock today or tomorrow, then you're not available to trade. It's the last thing you want to have happen to you. Can't tell you how many times I've had that happen where I tried to trade during difficult conditions, end up ruining my account or my confidence or losing money. And then as soon as price opened up, I was already exhausted for the day, or had already, lost the money that I had. All right, so price reached the midpoint of this fair value gap, and now it's showing a rejection. Let me make that a little larger for you. Okay, that last candle is quite impulsive. Shot down rather quickly. It did reject a bit. closing near the open. Let's see what these next couple follow-up candles do. Because what we saw was both of these candles reject off of the midpoint of this fair value gap, pushing price lower. Now, if this was a trade that you're in, this trade could deliver and produce the 5-point take profit without getting back into the fair value gap. Okay. All right, this is one of those trades I didn't take, but I did mark it up just as I was watching price action. Let me go ahead and briefly walk everyone through what I saw and why I marked this particular area up. So from the 9:30 down to 10 o'clock, we saw a big decline in price, and we saw it settle just before 10 o'clock. And when it settled before 10 o'clock, if you take the lowest low and you take the high that created that low, that then becomes the high that is holding market structure, right? So we can see on this side of the curve, as price was then increasing, we saw a break of that price that was holding market structure. So there's your market structure shift. From there, I thought that potentially price could continue buying up. We had a fair value gap here that it could target. So I started looking for potential longs. But in order to have a setup, we would need a low to be swept. So I started looking for where's the first low going to be that's going to be swept. So I started marking them up. I had this one marked before, and as price increased, it created another one here, for which price then broke down and took out that low. So that was the second step in the process. And then we just needed price to continue upwards and create a new high, which the previous high was here. So once price made the previous, continued up and made a new high, then it was just marking up this range and waiting for price to retrace 30%, which it did rather impulsively in two candles, just kind of shot down. But then it worked its way out and delivered a profit for anyone who took that trade. So let's clean up the chart and continue monitoring price. We still have not broken out of the fair value gap. In fact, still have not even cleared the 50% mark. Okay, let's move this. Let's see if maybe it's coming to tap in the 70% level. Looks like it just re-entered the 50% level. No, not quite. Okay, there's the 70% level. So now we wait and see if it price continues to deliver higher prices by taking out this high at the top in this fair value gap, or if we continue to seek lower prices by sweeping this low. So in this case, if you're in the 70%, you could actually put your stop loss here, because the sweep of this low would then make us start looking for bearish movement, start looking for short setups, which would then negate price moving up from here. However, it looks like maybe it wants to still deliver, even though it did break market structure. Okay, while we wait for our next setup or for price to settle and then decide on its direction, I'm gonna go and fill my coffee cup. So I'll be right back. Give me 2 minutes. All right, I'm back. So what did I miss? Okay, so 70% did deliver after all. And even though it tapped through, signaling a market structure shift, price is now continuing to put in new highs, or it looks like it's going to put in a new high. Wait and see. But for now, let's clear our charts and get ready. This fair value gap so far has been an obstacle to higher prices. So let's see if this rally can get through it. Let's see. Yeah, ES did make a new high. Oddly enough, the Dow is dragging behind, severely behind. Okay, so the dollar is also making higher prices. This is why. Hmm. There we are. So earlier, when I said when this low was swept by this down candle, this movement here, I said, okay, so it looks like we have a market structure shift towards lower prices. And then immediately as I said that, it delivered higher prices and delivered to anyone who took the trade at the 70% retracement. Um, but it didn't eclipse the highs to reinforce the fact that it wanted higher prices. And it just kind of dropped off on us, returning to the 830 open. So now that it's returned to the 830 open, let's see if this was the retracement it needed in order to make newer prices or higher prices, or if this is just the beginning of lower prices for the next 30 minutes to an hour. Okay. Okay, so what we want to see in order to be confident that the price is going to continue bullish, we want to see a candle body as it breaks this high. If it breaks this high, we want to see it close above, not just a wick. Because right now it looks like we're getting equal highs and lower lows. Okay, it made a high. It did not close above. Oh, welcome, Clifford. Good to have you. Okay, so the last candle did close above this high, the previous high from 1020. So that was pretty much what I wanted to see, just to have a bit more comfort that we're not going to continue this pattern that we saw over the last 20 minutes. Oh, we're not at 50% of the wick yet. Let's see where we are. 642. Okay, we're almost there. Okay, we can drop this line as well. Delete. Let's delete this as well. One setup so far, mathematical genius. One setup so far. We didn't take the trade, but we just watched it and drew up everything and saw it work out. Um, but we did have news earlier, and price was still settling, so we didn't want to take that first trade that we saw. We'll get warmed up, and hopefully there are some more setups coming soon. Right? If we can make a new high, this could be a setup that we're looking at right here. Oh, okay, so we did make a new high. All right. Okay, on actual trading, 0 for 1 for the day. Okay, so 50 and 75% entries, or I'm sorry, 50 and 70% entries are still alive. 50 is close to being okay, so if now 50 is over. 70% has been over for quite some time. And 30% entries failed. Hey, let's move this out of the way and let's get ready for the next one. So we already have a new high made. So now we're just looking for a low to be swept, which we technically had here. It's just it's the same area. So I wouldn't take this one because the entry is pretty much the same entry. Yeah, Anis, you're right. The 50% entry is absolutely better. There's no doubt about it. Okay, now that price is starting to move into a different zone, let's mark up our low. Not that we want price really to come back down and sweep this low. We'd probably rather it create a low up in this area, sweep that low, and then continue. But Anis, do you think that that's what price is doing? Is just building up a new high, only to crash at FOMC? Okay, we have a new swing low. Testing out the 70% entry of that last setup to see if the 70% can produce a profit. Right now, it's not working in my favor, so we'll see how everything finishes up. Okay, they worked out just as well as the 30% did for me. Another losing trade. Right. Clean up our chart. Now look and see if we'll continue seeking lower prices or if price will take out that high. Yeah, you're right. On the 15-minute, that wick, that wick that it was playing into. You're right. It hasn't. Well, we're still currently in the candle that pierced the 50%, but you're right. It is selling off now. It didn't. It hasn't closed above yet. But we could still see a bullish movement because there's 7 more minutes left in the candle, so we could still close above. Okay, another rejection out of a fair value gap, bearish fair value gap without a closure above 50% of the gap. So now let's see how far down price wants to go. Okay. All right, so we got to close below this one. Let's delete it. Okay, looks like potentially we're returning to the 8:30 open, which is 16,618. It's probably not, you probably can't see it on your screen. It's this little line right here is like a dash line or a dotted line. Let's see. Okay, during this hour, the S&P equaled the high of, I guess, a couple of hours ago. So the S&P has been pushing up against its high. And let's see, the Dow is pushing, but it's not quite where its high was of 2 hours ago. The dollar is just now starting to sell off, which is what we were hoping to see. But for whatever reason, it was buying mostly up until recently. So we want to see the dollar continue to sell off, and then we want to see the indices push for higher prices. Looks like we have a channel on its way down. Okay, let's see if price wants to retest this fair value gap, possibly push through. All right, one more 30-second candle, and that'll close out the 10 o'clock hour. Just throw up the 15-minute for a second, just so we can have a chance to look at where price has been for the last 12 hours or so. And we can see that pretty much nothing happened until the opening bell. And then it's just down, up, down, up. And now we're sitting in this zone here now. But overall, there hasn't been a lot of price movement. And that's most likely related to what's going to happen this afternoon. But we're still going to be optimistic this next hour and see what price gives us. Okay, so we did get a close above this fair value gap on the 30-second, so we'll remove that now. And we had an additional one created, and it broke through, but a bullish one. So let's see if this now becomes something that price can use as support. We also have ones with a slightly lower value. Price has now eclipsed this low. Let's see how far down it wants to push now. Okay. Last time price was here, it pushed up for 20 points. Now we're back down at the exact same area. Let's see if we get another push. Okay, we've now crossed the 8:30 open, heading towards the midnight open. Interesting. So we had a long wick that took out the low from 1030, the last major low that we were looking at. And over here, this one. Long wick, take that out, and we had a close above. So we had a rejection and a close above. The next candle traded down and put a body on it, a close. The next candle opened, bought up, rejected, still closed above. Now let's see what the next few candles does and if price can remain above this level and seek higher prices, or if we'll continue to seek lower prices, going for potential the low of the day. Okay, the low of the day is roughly 16,590, so about 20 points from where we are now. Okay, so price is closed below this wick that rejected. So I'm gonna go ahead and remove this purple line for now. Yeah, you're right. And as we've just retraced all the way back to where we were this morning, and from basically from where we finished yesterday till the opening bell today, price didn't really move more than 10 to 15 points. And so it just sat in that tight range for 12 hours. Um, and then we saw the opening bell where it did make an impulse move. And then it retraced by 10 o'clock. It was all the way back down to where it was prior to. So that could be that price is being held um, manually, which we all know there is manual manipulation, especially on big news days. And so price is probably being held in this range, waiting for the afternoon. Yeah. It's still good to watch price action on days that you're not trading, just so you understand and I guess reiterate why you're not trading that day when you see price action that's not favorable. Um, Not to mention, we really look for impulsive moves, whether it's bullish or bearish. It doesn't matter. But we need some type of impulse, and then we need price to continue and create a trend. And so far, we haven't gotten that. But yeah, I did take a a view at London when I woke up this morning, and it looked like they had an entire session of pretty much nothing. Wonder how many new people do we have in the room today? How many are watching now? This is your first time joining. Yeah, right now I'm watching to see if we make a new low. See if price can take out the low from a few minutes ago and see if potentially there's a setup here. Eat. Yeah, definitely not worth trading while I was still sitting in this zone. All right. Well, I'm glad to have you as a trading partner. And it's just, I agree. Trading alone, sometimes it does get a bit quiet around when you're just sitting there by yourself. It's good to have someone to chat with. Good to have someone to point out what you see and they point out what they see and just continue to evolve that way. All right. So it looks like the only way to trade so far this morning is 50% level. Yeah. Hopefully more people will join who want someone else to trade with and then want to sit alone. And we can get a nice little community here where we're trading every New York AM and PM potentially. Okay. Good deal, Chris. You took it at 20. Oh, wow. Sweet. Thank you, Joe, for the reminder. Yes, everyone in the live stream, please like the live stream. YouTube will then push this out to others looking for live trading, and then that'll help our community grow and help us find more individuals just like us. Yes, Clifford, I've taken two actually, of the same setup. I took it once at 30%, and I took it when it came back around the second time at 70%. Neither one produced a win, so I'm over two today. Oh man, yeah, Chris, it's really don't know what to say to that one, but just keep going, keep trying. I'm in the same boat. Um, some of the ones that I take with the combine are losers, and then some of the ones I switch over to the practice account, they win in the same candle. So it's like a 10-second trade. I think the idea here is as we continue to practice and we continue to get better at the setup, is to identify when to sit on the sidelines and also identify when a setup is more likely to produce at 50% as opposed to 30%. I think that's really where the edge will come from. Did anyone in the chat take the silver bullet trade this morning at 10 o'clock? I agree, Joe. Thank you very much for doing that. Thanks for reminding everyone to like the video who's having a good time in here, and then and yeah, everyone who is if it's your first or second go at it, and you want to continue to join the live streams, make sure you subscribe, and you'll get the invitations. Plus a reminder 30 minutes before we come on. Oh, okay, I got it, Chris. Yeah, the silver bullet is pretty much at 10 o'clock as you start looking for, first you have to decide what your bias is on direction. But from there, then you look for a fair value gap on the anywhere from the 1 to 5 minute time frame. And you're looking for a fair value gap for price to play out of, and then go to some quick target like a close by swing high or low. That's maybe 20 to 30 points away. So in the case of this morning, if let me switch over to the 5-minute. Oops. Yeah, so in the case of this morning at 10 o'clock, well, you can't see here. There was here. So we had this fair value gap that was open. At 9:55, it played through it, but closed above. And then at 10 o'clock, it returned down to the 50% mark. Let me make that a little larger. Here's the 10 o'clock candle. It returned down almost 50% and bought out. And so in that case, you would have been looking to get into the trade at the top of this fair value gap. So around 16,604 would have been your entry. And you would have been targeting, for instance, like this fair value gap here at 16,620, or this one above, 16,630, somewhere in that range. So you'd have been riding this up and been exiting your trade somewhere up here, unless you really believed in the way price was moving and you put your target at the swing high, 657. But most people, I think, would have been trying to look for a target somewhere in these fair value gaps. And that's super, super brief. And it's not, 100% of all the information, but that's the gist of what the silver bullet is. And it's very time sensitive. So it's between 10 and 11, and in the afternoons between 2 p.m. and 3 p.m. Oh, wow. Nice, Clifford. Sweet. Okay, so we got this first fair value gap. We have a rejection off the 50% mark. Let me actually reduce or remove. We don't need this any longer. Okay, we've had a swing high broken a few candles ago. So now we want to check and see if now we will get a rejection and lower prices. Okay, not quite. Market structure shift, and we can get up to 621. Oh, yep. And for Europe markets are closed. All right, peeking out at the bottom of the screen, you'll see this a yellow bar representing the new day opening gap. If you've been with me for a few days now, you know how, I guess, how much of a magnet the new day opening gap has been the past few days and how price just continues to bounce off of it. Um, so if we do get lower prices, we want to pay attention to that area and see if price attaches to it or if it just breaks through. Yeah, and as I think what I'm going to do this weekend is I'm going to take another look at the unicorn setup and just refamiliarize myself with breaker blocks and identifying those and making sure that I understand what those setups look like. Because I just keep hearing so many good things about breaker blocks and I guess how reliable they can be. Yep. Oh, sorry. Yeah, Joe, I get it. Non-compensated promoter. I do thank you for your effort, though. I really appreciate it. I'm looking now up, and we have 13 likes now, so we have more than we have current viewers in the room. Okay, a dash line. Is that the midnight open? Yep, sure is. So these wicks continue to bounce off of the midnight open, which would be the opening of the calendar day for New York. All right, I'm gonna run for 1 minute and grab my third and final cup of coffee for the day. Be right back. Hey, I see while I was gone, we got a close below the midnight open. Now let's see if it can reclaim or if we're going to get a rejection off of that level. Yep, you're right, Clifford. We are seeing lower highs being put. So we'll probably have a liquidity sweep at some point and then a sharp move downwards. Nice little area for rejection here. A lot of equal highs. Hmm. Right, just keep an eye on the time. It's 11:45. So in about 15 minutes, we'll see the lunchtime macro run. That's the low that we want to see broken. Price is now turning back into that fair value gap. We did get a rejection. It was slightly above the 50% mark, but we did get a rejection out. Let's see now if this fair value gap can hold, or if that was only temporary and now we may see higher prices. Okay, we've just seen price reject out of the bottom quarter. Not one of these again. Yeah, we're getting lower highs and we're getting higher lows. Yeah, I agree, Clifford. There's price action is very slow this morning, and any type of progress that's made is quickly pulled back. But because of the movement we had yesterday, when I look at the weekly candle, if it doesn't do anything for the rest of the week, it's still pretty substantial. All right, 11:50. See if we get anything prior to the lunch hour. Sometimes that last 10 minutes can produce a little liquidity grab for you, at least show some movement. I'll get rid of this fair value gap because it doesn't really matter since we are sitting in this funnel here. We're waiting for price to break out of. Hey, can we get a close below or will it retrace back in? Okay, so here's a new day opening gap. There were several touches of the new day opening gap between 2 a.m. and about 6 a.m. So it just continuously bounced off. And so far this session, we had it bounce off at 10 o'clock. That was the low. Okay, it's now back inside of the funnel. Yep. So price is rejected each time that it's bounced off of the new day opening gap. I mean, it has closed about 2 to 3 points below during the London session, but it immediately recovered, similar to what we just saw. You saw a big wick down, but immediately you saw a recovery in price. And that's about what we've seen this morning when coming down to the new week opening gap. Oh, I'm sorry, the new day opening gap. Yep, absolutely. The weekly is a clear uptrend. The daily, we're clearly uptrend 4 hour, pretty much every time frame until you get down until maybe the 5 minute or so. Okay, so we've had a bullish week every week since the last week of October. It has me a bit nervous now that we've reached a yearly high, whether we'll get some type of retracement. And I'm meaning on a daily or weekly level. Just put a Fibonacci on this wick just to see where the 50% mark is, and see how far price does penetrate through when it comes down. Okay, it's done more than the 50%. However, created another issue. Now we have another wick. Okay. All right. We're getting close to the end here for the morning session. I just wanted to thank everyone for joining and take any last questions or any requests, comments, anything. And yeah, definitely thank you. Thank everyone for joining. Thank you everyone who liked the video. Hopefully that leads to more people joining in the future, and we can have more in-depth discussions during our trading sessions. Anyone again who, if it's your first visit or you enjoyed what you saw or what you are hearing, please consider subscribing to the channel so you can get invites for future sessions. Alrighty, Chris, everyone, I'll be back in an hour. So remember, we have interest rates coming out at 2 p.m., but we'll be back at 1 p.m. for the afternoon session. So I will see you all hopefully in an hour. Thanks for joining.